The morning fog clings to your skin like a cold shroud. Behind you, the town is still asleep, but ahead, beyond the wooden gate, waits the man whose craft will soon become your world. This is the first day of your apprenticeship under the medieval executioner, a figure both necessary and despised. Today, you will step into a profession shaped by fear, superstition, and the unspoken weight of state power. You will witness the rituals of death and the quiet discipline required to carry them out. In the medieval world, the executioner lived on the edge of society. Needed for justice, yet shunned in daily life, he existed in a space between law and curse. He held knowledge of anatomy, of tools, of rituals, and of fear. By tradition, his apprentice learned through observation, obedience, and long hours beside the scaffold and the block. Today is your first hour on that path. The executioner's dwelling stands at the far end of the town, beyond the butcher stalls and the tanner's pits. The air carries a sour blend of animal fat, wood smoke, and wet soil. You approach the low, timbered house, noticing that no neighbors stand nearby. He opens the door before you knock. A tall man, shoulders wrapped in a dark, heavy cloak. His gaze lingers on you not with warmth, but with assessment. Inside, the room is dim. Bundles of herbs hang from the rafters, their sharp scents masking less pleasant odors. On a wooden table rests a whetstone, darkened with years of use, beside an array of blades covered by a leather cloth. He speaks slowly, telling you that an executioner's apprentice must listen more than speak, obey more than question, and observe more than he dares admit. He reveals the blades one by one, a broad axe with a crescent edge, polished until it reflects the firelight, a short sword meant for close work, a set of iron pincers and hooks used not for punishment, but for the preparation of the body afterward. The metal smells faintly of oil and older stains. He places the axe in your hands. It is heavier than you imagined. Your palms sweat as you struggle to hold it level. The executioner corrects your grip with brief, firm motions. He explains that the blade must cut cleanly, that hesitation brings suffering, and that suffering brings disorder, something authorities fear more than anything. He leads you outside. The fog has not lifted. You follow him along a dirt path that curves behind the town walls. Birds are silent. Even the air seems to hold its breath. Ahead stands the scaffold, a square wooden platform raised by thick beams, with steps darkened by countless mornings like this one. Ropes creak softly in the breeze. He tells you that an executioner must arrive before the crowd, before the officials, before the condemned. This is your duty now, to prepare the space where judgment becomes final. Your first task is simple in appearance, yet heavy in meaning. He instructs you to sweep the platform. The broom bristles scrape against wood stained by old brown marks left by rain and by things not mentioned aloud. You feel each stroke as a small ritual, a quiet acknowledgement of those who stood here before. Next, you carry buckets of water from a nearby well to cleanse the block. The executioner watches you silently, measuring your steadiness. He reminds you that cleanliness is not mercy, but precision. A slippery block leads to mistakes, and mistakes lead to horror. You return to the executioner's cart, where a whetstone rests beneath a canvas sheet. You kneel beside it. He places the axe before you and demonstrates the long, patient pull of metal across stone. The sound is a slow, rasping whisper, metal against grit, edge against destiny, He hands the blade to you. Your arms tense as you try to mimic his motion. Sparks flicker faintly. The axe grows sharper with each careful stroke. He says nothing, but you feel his eyes judging the steadiness of your breath. When the sharpening is finished, he speaks of fear, not yours, but the fear of the condemned. He tells you that in past decades, in towns across the realm, men and women met their end with trembling legs and unfocused eyes. Some prayed, some cursed, some refused to walk. Your task, he says, is to watch and learn how fear moves through a person. Not to judge it, but to understand it. For without understanding fear, an executioner acts blindly. He guides you through the rest of the scaffold. You test the tension of ropes used not for hanging today, but for restraint. Their coarse fibers bite against your fingers. The block stands in the center, smooth from countless blows. You run your hand along its grain, feeling small ridges and indentations, silent records of lives ended here. The executioner warns you that every detail matters. A loose rope, a chipped block, a weakened beam all can transform one moment of judgment into chaos. From the scaffold, you hear faint murmurs growing. The townspeople are beginning to gather beyond the walls. Their whispers drift on the cold air, fear, curiosity, judgment intertwined. The executioner steps beside you and tells you that the crowd is never the same twice. Some come for justice, some for spectacle, some for reasons they dare not name. You will learn to read them as surely as you read the tools. The executioner instructs you to stand near the steps and observe. The officials will arrive soon, the magistrate, the clerk, the guards. He explains their roles quietly. The magistrate ensures the sentence is lawful. The clerk records every detail. The guards maintain order. You, the apprentice, must be invisible yet attentive, ready to fetch water, hold tools, or steady the condemned if commanded. The sun begins to pierce the fog with pale, hesitant light. The muffled footsteps of armored boots echo along the path. The magistrate approaches first, wrapped in a dark woolen cloak, his expression severe yet practiced. Beside him walks the clerk, carrying a leather-bound register swollen with years of records. The guards take their positions around the scaffold, their halberds glinting faintly. You stand completely still as the executioner introduces you with only a brief nod. No one offers you a greeting. This silence is its own message. You have chosen a profession that stands apart, a craft observed but seldom acknowledged. A distant clatter rises from the far gate. The condemned prisoner is being led out. Chains scrape. Metal rings. A low murmur spreads through the gathering crowd. The prisoner appears, thin, unshaven, wrapped in a rough-spun tunic. His eyes avoid the scaffold at first, scanning faces as though searching for mercy where none will be found. The executioner tells you quietly to observe how the prisoner walks, the faltering rhythm, the trembling hands, the shallow breath. These are signs an apprentice must learn to read. The guards bring the condemned up the wooden steps. The prisoner stumbles, forcing one guard to tighten his grip. On the platform, he turns toward the executioner with a mixture of terror and pleading. But the executioner remains unmoved. You are instructed to stand at the prisoner's side. The wood beneath your feet creaks. The air thickens with the smell of damp rope and cold sweat. The executioner announces the sentence aloud. The magistrate listens. The clerk writes. The crowd murmurs. You feel the prisoners trembling through the boards themselves. The executioner hands you the axe, not to swing, but to hold. The weight pulls at your arms. He kneels briefly to examine the block, ensuring the surface is steady. You sense the precision in every motion he makes. The prisoner, unable to steady his breath, mutters half-formed prayers. You stand ready with the blade, feeling the cold metal numb your palms. The executioner nods once, signaling for you to hand it back. You do so carefully, as if offering a sacred instrument. The executioner positions himself. The prisoner is guided to kneel. A hush falls across the square. Even the crows seem to silence their calls. The executioner's voice drops low as he explains only to you that this moment is where an apprentice learns the true weight of the office. It is not the death itself that defines the work, but the stillness beforehand, the breath between judgment and finality. The crowd leans forward. The axe rises. The prisoner exhales a shaken, fragmented breath. The blade falls with a sharp, decisive crack against the block. The crowd gasps, some in awe, others in horror. You do not look away. The executioner notices this and silently approves. He instructs you to step forward and hold the cloth used for covering the remains. Your hands tremble, but you obey. The executioner kneels to complete his grim task. The magistrate signs his final note. You cover the remains with the cloth as you were taught. The weight of the fabric feels strangely heavy, as though absorbing the moment's gravity. The executioner tells you that an apprentice must learn to move steadily even after the stroke. Panic has no place here. Precision must remain. The guards clear space, guiding the crowd back. The murmurs grow louder, blending into a restless tide of voices. Once the officials depart, your tasks begin again. You fetch water from the well. Your steps feel slower, heavier. The bucket sloshes with each movement. Back at the scaffold, you kneel beside the block. The water runs dark as it touches the wood. You scrub the surface with coarse cloth, repeating the circular motions the executioner demonstrated earlier that morning. The scent of iron lingers in the air. When the block is clean, the executioner sits on the edge of the platform and motions for you to stand beside him. He tells you that executioners across the lands have served for generations. In distant cities, during the late years of the 14th century, fathers passed their tools to sons. In earlier centuries, apprentices learned through long years of observation before ever touching a blade. You have stepped into a lineage shaped by duty and isolation. He warns you that the townspeople will not speak to you openly after today. Some may avoid you, others may whisper. This is the price of the craft. As the scaffold stands silent once more, you and the executioner return along the same dirt path. The fog has lifted, revealing rooftops and chimneys, but you feel distant from the world you left this morning. At the house, the executioner places the axe back on the table, its edge gleaming from the morning's work. He tells you to sit. You do so, your legs unsteady. Today, he explains, you have taken your first step into a profession that demands discipline, silence, and a steady heart. The executioner's voice softens only slightly as he delivers his final lesson of the day. That the work of an executioner reveals more about the living than the dying. Fear, justice, authority, dread. These forces shaped the medieval world, and you now stand at their intersection. You will continue to learn, he says. You will sharpen blades, prepare scaffolds, and witness the trembling of those who stand at the edge of fate. and with each passing day you will carry the weight of this craft in silence. The sun sets behind the rooftops, casting long shadows across the path. The day ends, but your apprenticeship has only just begun.